Okay, question 4. Diversity and inclusion is at the forefront of ITV's remit. To create the best content possible, we must reflect our audiences in our workforce. What new or different perspective on the world will you bring to ITV? Why do you think it will help you succeed in your apprenticeship? Well, I've always considered myself to be a very distinct individual with a somewhat unique perspective on the world. And in this ever-changing world, with new and existing issues rising to the surface, it's become apparent that censorship is a coping response used more and more frequently by the media. And despite its short-term positive impacts, I don't consider it a solution by any means. I actually think that too much of it can result in further repression in society and thus worsen the issues at hand. Personally, I've always largely admired those who choose to address the elephant in the room. In today's society, I feel like this is something that a large majority of us fear all too easily. And although I understand why, I do feel like if done correctly, it can be a very approachable and effective solution. If I'm to further elaborate on the word correctly, allow me to introduce you to another word, humour. If the media was a recipe, humour is that sweet and savoury ingredient waiting to be sprinkled on what is currently a rather sour dish. Furthermore, I think now would be a very relevant time to mention that I personally have battled with anxiety and depression in the past and supported peers through struggles of their own. Therefore, these experiences have taught me the importance of humour and the positive role that it plays on a person's well-being. And in the modern day world, the stigma attached to mental health is losing its grip by the day, and people are learning to open up and confide more and more often. Therefore, my perspective on this subject and the passion I bring with it I think could be highly beneficial to ITV. Even in the darkest of situations, I'm able to identify where humour hides itself and draw it to the surface when necessary. From this I've been able to illustrate with my peers that even in times of sadness and hurt, humour is not something that we should fear or shy away from, rather something that we should welcome and share. If I'm able to illustrate this with my colleagues and share with the British public, then I've succeeded in my apprenticeship. I've always possessed a keen passion for music, and although this might appear irrelevant, I think I could bring this to ITV. As a proud Mancunian born and bred, I've been exploring our musical heritage from a very early age. Manchester is home to some of the most well-known bands and musicians in the world, including the Bee Gees, Stone Roses, Oasis, etc. However, despite this, there's always been one particular name that's repeatedly popped up from the very beginning. This person has played a major role in the Manchester music scene in the 1980s and 90s. They were the manager to some of Manchester's most famous bands, including Joy Division, New Order, Happy Mondays. They were the founder and manager of Hacienda, the nightclub in Manchester known infamously across the world. They were even the influencer behind Manchester's very own subgenre of music, Manchester. And if you haven't guessed by now, this person is Mr. Manchester himself, and one of your very own, Tony Wilson, the late great Tony Wilson. And although I'm too young to bear witness, it's clear from my research how important Tony was in the media, not only in music, but also in demographics and politics. Back in the 1980s, when Margaret Thatcher, the leader of the Conservative Party, was Prime Minister, Great Britain was facing a time of major crisis. Those who suffered the most were the working classes, particularly the young. And at a time when London dominated the media, the northern population felt like they'd just been brushed to one side and ignored. However, back in 1976, when Tony first appeared onto our television screens as the presenter of the music and television programme So It Goes, a glimpse of change peeked behind the curtains. Tony was able to use his influence in the media in order to promote a new and vibrant culture in Manchester. This gave the young working classes a voice that would allow them to express their everyday struggles and frustrations, a voice that would inspire further voices and would later evolve into Cool Britannia and Britpop. A social movement expressed through music that would bring Tony Blair and the Labour Party to the forefront of politics, making Great Britain great again. And in terms of perspective, you could argue that this is neither new or different. However, in these unsettling times, I do think that this is something that we both lack and require in the mainstream media. Furthermore, grime is a genre of music that continues to grow in popularity for the young working classes in Britain. the modern day equivalent of Manchester and Britpop. It allows the youth of this generation to express their everyday struggles and frustration. Following the mainstream success of rappers such as H and Bugsy Malone, I feel as though Manchester is once again starting to receive the attention that it deserves, the attention and recognition that it deserves. And having the ability to play a role in this and further influence the future in Manchester's music is something that I feel very passionate about. Being able to illustrate my enthusiasm and take inspiration from iconic figures at ITV would help me to succeed in all aspects of my apprenticeship. Overall, what intrigues me about this apprenticeship is the perspectives that I'm yet to gain, the new and different perspectives that I'm yet to gain. These are perspectives that only an apprenticeship like this could introduce me to. These are perspectives that will help me grow, not only as a writer, but as a person also. These are the perspectives that will help me to succeed in this apprenticeship. Thank you.